Today is Friday, Erev Shabbat Chazon. This is the eve of Shabbat that comes right before the fast of Tisha Beav. So we will review some of the halachot, some of the laws that have to do with the day of Tisha Beav. The fast begins at sunset tomorrow, which would be at 8:01 in our neighborhood, and then we'll finish when the stars are out on Sunday night at 8:29 again in our neighborhood. During the whole period of the fast, a person is not allowed to wash, is not allowed to eat or drink, not allowed to wear leather shoes, and no marital relations. The washing, even for netilat yadayim, when we wash our hands in the morning, only up to the knuckles. The only exception would be, of course, if the hands got dirty, then you're allowed to wash them well, or somebody preparing a meal washes vegetables, the hands get washed at the same time, that's not a problem. Or the Kohanim, before they do Birkat Kohanim, when they wash their hands all the way to the wrist. However, in the morning, or when a person after went to the restroom, the washing is only up to the knuckles. Shoes, we said, no leather shoes. So a person wears maybe sneakers, shoes that are made of rubber or material, and it shouldn't have any kind of structural leather, but there is an ornament of leather on top that would be permitted, or let's say a leather belt will also be permitted. It's just the shoes that we're strict with. Now, everybody must fast, even pregnant or nursing mothers, except if a woman gave birth within the first 30 days, she would be exempt, or if it would be too difficult for her, if it would make her too weak, or in the case of a nursing mother, if by her not nursing for one day, that the milk would stop and that would endanger the child, then she should eat. The other exception, of course, if anybody is either sick or might become sick by fasting, then they should not fast. When the fast is postponed from Shabbat to Sunday, like is the case this year, because the 9th of Av is actually on Shabbat, and the fast is being postponed, then we are more lenient, and therefore pregnant or nursing ladies in general are exempt from fasting when the fast was postponed. Now, it's a day of mourning, so no listening to music, of course, and we sit on the floor, even at the synagogue, when we pray, both on Saturday night and also on Sunday, all morning, all the way until after Chatzot, after the middle of the day. In Mincha, we already sat on regular chairs. Now, because we don't do Havdalah on Saturday night, since we go into the fast, there is no Havdalah on wine. Havdalah will be made on Sunday night. The only thing that we do is Boreh Meoreh Esh, and that's done in the synagogue typically just before we start reading the Megillat Echa, we say Boreh Meoreh Esh. If one is exempt from fasting because of health condition or what we mentioned earlier, then before they can eat, they have to do Havdalah. Havdalah is a prerequisite before a person would partake of any food. So that is in general some of the laws that apply to the day of Tisha B'Av. On the Seudah that we have before the fast begins, typically we sit on the floor, people eat certain types of food like lentils, etc. But when it's Shabbat, then you sit regularly in a regular table, and you have a meal that is a regular meal of Seudah Shlishit. You can even have a meal with meat, because it's still Shabbat. And since on Shabbat we have no restrictions on the food, we're allowed to eat meat. Now, some families, some cities in Morocco, for instance, some families have a custom not to eat meat on Shabbat, that is before Tisha, and they should go according to their custom. But if you don't know what the custom of your family is, or in general, it's not forbidden to eat meat, even the Suda Shlishit that we have before the fast begins. In terms of our community, we'll be doing Mincha at 5:30, and then going back home for Suda Shlishit, and coming back for Arvit at 9 o'clock, Motzai Shabbat, Arvit and Kinot. The day of Sunday is the day of Tisha. Prayer will be at 7, all the way till 9:30 with Kinot, and then from 9:30 until 1:30, we'll have a series of drashot, of lectures, half hour at a time, by various rabbis from the community, so that we can turn the day of adversity into a day of inspiration, into improving ourselves. And then at 2:30 in the afternoon will be the Chafetz Chaim Foundation video presentations here in our synagogue, which will go from 2:30 until 6 o'clock. Mincha on Sunday will be at 7:15. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen.